Good morning, everyone. Welcome to RTV. Today, we have another eminent artist who's based in Goa, India, and a brilliant abstract painter. It's none other than Suhas Shilker, who's with us. Suhas Shilker does not need any introduction when it comes to his art, when it comes to abstraction. In this interview today, we will try to go or we'll try to visit the path traveled. We will try to get into his creative process of how he works, what he thinks, and some more interesting facts. So let's begin. Welcome, Suhas, to this
Hello,
RTV, and it's a
hello
great pleasure
everybody.
to have you on this. It's a great pleasure to have you on this show with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Suhas, we begin. It's always fun talking to you. I
Ah,
want. It's like uh, always. I have seen that there is a lot of um, interaction as well as there is a lot of laughter also in your
yeah,
thought.
definitely.
Yeah. Before I really dive into the main subject as such, before that, Suhas, we all would like to know about your path traveled. You are one of the brilliant abstract painters who can create a magic, some magic out of nothing. Your
Okay,
abstraction, your abstraction is so childlike. It's like it has that innocence and that strength and that magnitude, that the purity of a child who can create a magic, some magic out of nothing, like just one line, one form, one stroke. That's it. It's like, so I have always found that thing very fascinating. So personally, even me as an abstract painter, I have always been curious to know, to get into your mind as such. So I think this is a great opportunity about it. So yeah, please tell us about your path traveled and how did you zero on to be an abstract painter, and you're from Goa. How did the culture, how did the people, how did the entire thing influence you, inspire you, or made you what you are today?
okay. See, as kids, when we were in school, we used
Hmm.
to get this Soviet propaganda magazines
Okay.
known as Soviet Land
Hmm.
and then Sputnik. And some of my friends who could afford the Span magazine.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, before I could see that, I used to be sort of good in class in drawing or in copying calendars or something like that. Now when through these magazines suddenly I got exposed to the images of artists like Miro, Chagall and
Hmm.
Calder.
Hmm.
Now these three artists, when I saw them
And,
first,
and you're talking about this in the mid 70s, late
yeah,
70s?
yeah,
Yeah.
mid 70s.
Okay.
So when I saw that itself, immediately I took a liking for that. I said,
Hmm.
yes, this is it. This is what I mean. There was no such thing like being, what is it called, confused about what this was going on and what they are trying to say and all that. Such questions didn't appear in my mind at all.
No internal negotiations. That's it.
No internal negotiation. I just took straight away to it. I
Strike a
said,
deal. That's it.
this is what I like.
Hmm.
Immediately, came home and I start trying to do something like that. And I
Hmm.
fail bitterly. I know that I'm failing.
Hmm.
It looks, but I tried to do something like that, which was simple, like perhaps copying a Miro or something like that. But it doesn't have the charm and the quality of a original Miro. And I was wondering, like, why, if it is so simple, why shouldn't I get it?
Hmm.
So I keep doing it, and then as time passes, I decide to join for the college. And for the interview, I mean, there's a entrance interview. And for the
Hmm.
entrance interview itself, I come with a huge bunch of abstract paintings.
Okay. That's at Goa Art
and
College.
yeah, Goa College of Art.
Yeah.
So for the interview itself, I come with a huge bunch of abstract paintings. Another
Hmm.
artist who influenced, whose work fascinated us
Uh-huh.
was Salvador Dali. especially the persistence of memory painting.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it opened a sort of a world to a, it opened a window to a world,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of one felt that, well, if one can do this, one can create a world for oneself
Mm-hmm.
through art.
Yeah. खुद की दुनिया बना
So,
सकते हैं।
हाँ, अपनी दुनिया बना सकते हैं.
अपनी दुनिया बना सकते
हाँ, अपनी दुनिया बना सकते हैं. So that was like a sort of a giving a great high to me.
हैं।
So they were also surprised, like, how come you suddenly start off with an abstract without having any proper grounding in realistic work or this thing like that. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, they liked some of the work, and I was accepted, and we started off in the art
Excellent.
college. In the art
Mm-hmm.
college. So in the art college, I went through the proper academic whatever training which was there, and our curriculum
Mm-hmm.
was designed by one Mr. Ambedkar, very senior person, and Bendre, and
Mm-hmm.
some other very senior
And
artists, and it was designed
NS
on
Bendre.
the yeah, NS Bendre,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it was designed on the lines of Bauhaus.
Okay.
So we had subjects like 2D, 3D, then
Okay.
a little bit design, sculpture. Then we had to do some objects also. So, and graphics also was there. Plus
Oh,
theory was there.
okay.
So it was a 5 year degree course, and it was the first
Mhm.
time, I think even JJ did not have a degree course then. So
Okay.
ours was before a degree course, before JJ started off with a degree course.
Mm-hmm.
So then, what is it called? And we had a tremendously, what is it called, rich library
Okay.
in Goa College of Art, where we
Mm-hmm.
could see almost all the masters, right from pre-Renaissance to the moderns.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, Lakshman Pai had been arrived from Paris then, and he was our principal.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to visit us once in a while, give talks on form, how, the importance of form, line, color, texture, etc. And surprisingly, for my masters, I took
Mm-hmm.
portraiture.
Cool.
Masters in the sense the subject, main subject I took as
Correct.
portraiture.
Not abstract.
Yeah, because I
Okay.
wanted to master drawing. So I
Okay.
kept copying, what is it called, all the master, Baroque and Renaissance masters from the
Uh-huh.
reproductions. I used to keep drawing every day. Sketching was sort of like almost mandatory every day. Every day evening we used to go and do sketching. I mean, that was sort of a thing which I think perhaps all colleges in art colleges
Yeah.
in India followed.
Yeah.
We worked a lot that way, and later on, uh, what happened was that we did an exhibition. I think after passing out or something like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people used to hardly come to see the paintings. Forget about buying and all that. That question didn't arise at all then
Mm-hmm.
of selling paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So people used to hardly come and see the paintings. So what happened was that now how to make a living?
Mm-hmm.
To paint, you need to make a living. You need to be
Correct.
survive first.
You need to buy the next
So
canvas.
yeah, you have to buy the next canvas. So luckily, we had a family business
Mm-hmm.
of dealing in hardware, which my father used to run with his partners.
Mm-hmm.
So I entered it part time, so I
Mm-hmm.
could spend about half a day in the evenings or so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at the shop and get the
Okay.
necessary uh, pay, you can say, or a
The bill.
salary.
Bills
Yeah,
for the month.
and bills, and then continue with my painting.
Yeah.
And I had to lie to my father, saying that fine art has got good scope, and I can be an illustrator in
Mm-hmm.
advertising agency and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he realized that nothing like that is going to happen. So he didn't interfere much, and
uh,
he had no inkling towards art. Neither did my mother have. Nobody in the
mm-hmm.
family had any
Mm-hmm.
inkling to anything about art.
Mm-hmm.
So I came almost in the art scene with abstraction. I mean, with that thought in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do that.
Okay.
Now, how to go about it? In the sense that our principal used to tell us, okay, you have to master the form, and then we practiced accordingly. We copied sometimes the masters, but there was no point in copying the modern masters. So each one of us was sort of trying to develop his own language
Mm-hmm.
over the years, so to say. See, there was an advantage in being sort of not commercially successful when we were young.
Mm-hmm.
So we were free to explore.
Okay.
So I explored all sorts of mediums, egg tempera, gum temperas, and oils, and pencils, and charcoals, and every
Touch
possible
anything and
medium.
everything.
Anything and everything we could explore to heart's content.
Mm-hmm.
And in the long run, it gave us the mastery over the medium,
Mm-hmm.
handling of the medium.
Yeah.
So now, that time, what had happened was that initially I was fascinated by certain effects of, let's say, artists, like one painting, image I had seen of Ganesh Pine,
Okay. Oh, my
and I
favorite.
was
Yeah.
I was fascinated by the effects he got, how he
Yeah.
used to do that, and
Yeah.
sort of we had no access to. I mean, that time no internet, nothing, so we didn't know what was going on, how he did it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we could only use watercolors.
Yeah.
So I kept desperately trying to get those sort of effects, but I didn't want to copy him as such. I wanted to do abstract paintings
Yeah.
using that particular type of feel. That
Yeah.
quality of mystery
Yeah.
was the thing that fascinated me
Yeah. Yes.
more than his paintings or imagery. The quality of
Yes.
mystery which he brought,
Yeah.
that was what fascinated me. So I kept desperately experimenting with watercolors, and
Mm-hmm.
suddenly, out of the blues, one day, out of frustration, I did something, and something nice appeared on the
Okay.
paper.
Okay.
So I went and showed it to my professors this is after college. I went and showed it to my professors in art college, and he said, "Wow,
Mm-hmm.
this is good." He said,
Mm-hmm.
"This is good. You can continue doing like this." So then, over the years, I developed this technique of applying watercolors thickly in layers and then removing it slowly, layer by layer, wetting the
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah.
And I think you can show some paintings which I put as to how I, what is it called, developed that technique over the years.
Yes.
Now, one thing you must understand, that all the sort of all the abstract painting has grown
Mm-hmm.
out of surrealism.
Yeah. Okay.
The process of form making, which is happening in abstraction, that automatic process whereby artist starts from an unknown zone and
Yeah.
then develops a form, that is basically comes from surrealism.
Okay.
Surrealism's automatic writing or automatic this thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
giving a free flow to the unconscious
Mm-hmm.
without reason directing,
Okay.
or without reason or logic directing the movements.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So surrealism was, even Miro was a surrealist. Picasso for some period was a surrealist.
So free
Uh,
instinctive movements, you meant to say.
movements, free
But with,
instinctive movements coming directly from the subconscious.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
this was the uh, a main part of the, even in writing. This was one of the main part of the initial surrealist manifesto.
Okay.
Okay. Now later on, slowly, as you know, all the movements, new things get added to them. This that.
Correct.
Then you have Kandinsky, Paul Klee, and all interpreting this particular thing in their
Mm-hmm.
own different manner and enriching it.
Correct.
So basically, this process of starting from an unknown area, it
Mm-hmm.
comes from surrealism.
Okay.
Okay. And later on, how the artist develops the particular form according to his own temperament, uh, or his ideas or his feelings.
Yeah.
Now, this watercolor thing, I kept doing it, and then as you know that we used to go every year to Bombay, with our portfolio, go walking from gallery to gallery,
Jangir
and
visit.
yeah, every yearly visit, and every gallery used to reject my paintings,
Mm-hmm.
saying that they could not what is it called relate to what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and they used to say, "What is this going on?" And this won't work here. Because
Yeah,
that time Anjali Ella Menon and all these people were on top, and figurative painting was sort of the in thing. Hardly
correct.
anybody was known for his abstract paintings in India.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we used to come back dejected, but n- we or I, you can say, or our batch group, we never gave up on our convictions.
Oh, okay.
We never compromised with our conviction. We just continued with it.
Kept working on what your
Kept
instincts told
working
you.
on what we were convinced about.
Excellent.
So then, somewhere in 99, 98, this one gallery owned by Mr. Haresh Chaganlal, who was then one of the top 10 Indian collectors, which I came
Mm-hmm.
to know later, of course.
Okay.
He liked my works, and he
Mhm.
made 2 or 3 exhibitions in Bombay, which were like sort of sellout.
Okay.
Perhaps because of the his contacts or something, people liked the work. I don't have much knowledge about that, but they were like sort of sellout exhibitions. After
Mm-hmm.
that, he what is it called? He was not keeping in good health, so he closed down the sort of gallery, and then he shifted to Goa. And then I came back to Goa since no other gallery was sort of ready to accommodate the type of work I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I continued in Goa working and holding occasional exhibitions, group shows till
Mm-hmm.
say about 2007, sort of 6, 7 was the art boom period. You must be
Okay.
knowing about had
Yes.
jumped into the fray, and the art was a big subject and boom. So that
Yeah.
boom, though I was not a part of the Bombay Art Circle or something like that, but it helped us. And write-ups and sort of started coming on the newspaper about my paintings, and the local people started showing interest in the type of work
Mm-hmm.
I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow they started liking also, and they started collecting my work also.
Okay.
So this was like sort of a good thing, which what is it called? Kept our motivation alive
Spirit.
and kicking.
Yeah.
Yeah, after so many
Yeah.
years. So
Excellent.
sort of continues till today. And
Mm-hmm.
later on, what happens was that see, I could not my works. I tried with galleries. Galleries
Mm-hmm.
somehow couldn't manage to connect my work with the buyer public. So
Yeah.
then myself and another one of my friend, Mr. Devi Prasad Rao, so we
Mm.
decided that we will develop our sort of own set
Infrastructure.
of buyers, infrastructure, and we
Mm-hmm.
started meeting people, talking to people, calling them home, showing the work.
Mm.
So over the past 10 years now, I have been doing this, and now it is
Okay.
showing results that people sort of come home to have a look at my work, to buy
Excellent.
the work, or something like that.
Excellent. Excellent. Very interesting. I mean, especially an abstract artist adventurous journey, the path traveled. Today, I think so. When you look back, it gives you a lot of smiles. At that time, it must have created a lot of frustration, but today it's always like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it was pretty frustrating in the sense that forget about uh, buying paintings or even appreciation itself was totally rare for the type of work. I mean,
yeah,
people used to virtually think that you are scribbling around or
yeah, yeah.
just having fun with the canvas or paper or color. Why should we buy it or something like that? People couldn't relate to it because they were not used to looking at it.
Yeah,
It's not their fault as such, but
yeah,
about this particular type of the painting or the work I do, people have to get used to looking at it. Only then they develop the
yes,
taste for it.
yeah. And also one thing, I totally agree with you because even the conventional or traditional abstract works, be it from the Bombay School of Art or be it from the Bengal School of Art, they have
Huh.
a set pattern going around.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's why the entire buyer lobby or the viewers market or the viewer spectrum, the entire spectrum, when they want to enter a gallery, to view an abstract, they already have a preconceived mindset saying the compositions or things is going to be something like this. And yeah, and
Yeah,
something which does not fit into that.
yeah. I
It's
remember,
like, huh.
I remember one recent story couple of years back. See, one of my uh, collectors, she's a very big corporate, this thing. She suggested to one of her Calcutta, another friend, that
Hmm.
please go and have a look at, because she had owned my paintings. Please go and have a look at paintings of Suhas Shilkar and another of my, what is it called, understudy and friend artist,
Yeah.
Chilpan
Sorry.
Asnolkar.
Yeah, sorry. I think there's some disturbance at your end.
Ah, you can
Yeah,
hear?
yeah, yeah. Now I can. Now I can.
So one of my collectors,
Hmm.
she suggested another a collector friend from Calcutta
Okay.
to come and have a look at my work or to collect my work.
Yeah.
And she said that you please go and have a look at Suhas's work and another artist friend of mine, Shilpa Nasnodkar.
Yeah.
Now she also does this dark figurative work.
Correct.
Uh,
Very
so
bold.
they,
Very
for
bold stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
very bold and sort of strong work,
Yeah.
but it's on the darker side, and
Hmm.
people are not used to exactly putting it, having it in their halls or
True.
rooms.
True.
But it's very expressive. So
Hmm.
the gentleman phones me up and he comes, and within 5 minutes he just
Went
runs
away.
away from the gallery. I mean, he's almost terrified of what
Yeah.
he's seen. So then, while going, he asked me, like, in abstract painting, there is supposed to be a balance,
Hmm.
composition. I said that
Hmm.
I don't see anything of that in your
Hmm.
painting. I said, good point. I said, good
Hmm.
you asked me this question. I said, see, when you are tired of these things
Yeah.
or you have too much of this thing, I said, then you will start responding to my type of work. I said.
Yeah. I
So
think.
he just smiled.
Yeah.
He just smiled and he said, maybe. And then he went. I said, that, I told him, explained to him, see, these are the traditional sort of things which we are told they are
Hmm.
good in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, they are taught to beginners, but later on, one must be free to explore the medium and the, what is it called, and the process with an open mind.
Yeah.
Now, unless you take risks with this thing, you are never going to land into a new area or new space. You are not going to discover anything new.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
unless you put at stake what you have learned, or your confidence, you are never going to land up anywhere in an interesting place.
Yeah. I mean, one of the aspects what I found is, for some reason, there is an opinion floating. It says like a painting. The moment you see a painting, it should give a soothing feeling. But rather, like when I see canvases like you, or your like artist like you painting, more than soothing feeling, it is a thought provoking.
Huh,
It is something that it either instigates a new thought or it challenges my thought.
huh.
I think so that challenging my thought experience, maybe not all are comfortable.
Yeah, it is not comfortable because you're not used to it. You see, it's a
Correct.
matter of getting used to
Correct.
it. See,
Correct.
they when it's not that they are wrong, but they are seeing only a section of it,
Section of it. Yeah.
only a section of it. Now, what is it called? This section also they have to explore,
Correct.
where it's sort of challenging, or it's sort of you can't relate it to what you have seen before.
Yeah.
So one has to get used to it.
Yeah.
That's the only way, perhaps I feel, which can do the trick.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, once they get used to this, looking at this more often,
Mm.
then they will start responding to it. That's what I have
Yes.
always missed through my experience. What I have realized is this. Now, about the feeling of comfort, as you say, वो comfort soothing is one expectation from a painting, is one type
Mm.
of expectation from a painting. but people also want something like some people okay want to live a life of good aram and bindas, whereas some people go to mountaineering and do cycling and go to
They like
rallies and
adventure.
yeah, they like
They-
adventure. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
so perhaps my paintings are more for those type of people.
Yes, yes. It's a journey through the terrain, like, you go for a
Yeah, it's a
mountaineering,
journey
you
to
go
the
through
terrain. Yeah,
terrain. Yeah.
it's a
And
journey to the terrain.
exactly. And see, the couple of words that you use and the couple of words which I hear from other abstract painters. Now,
Huh,
I just would like to know some things, and maybe you can throw the light for the gap between. Okay.
huh,
Usually, like an artist's mind or a viewer's mind or a buyer's mind can be like, it should be a successful composition. Yes. Basically, in abstract painting or painting like you, it's all about lines, forms, strokes, and colors.
huh.
It is that energy basically. अभी ये चारों के साथ कैसा खेलते हो, कैसा कंपोज करते हो, that is the artist की ताकत है वो उसमें. Now it's all about constructing a beautiful work of canvas, being successful in trying to communicate or present something, and see that the viewer finds some acceptance or a space. Now, this is a normal viewing one. Whereas, even in the past, when I've spoken to you, or even when the comments that I read, your comments when I read on the social media, you always talk about like, damn it, I have terribly failed. It's a failure. This canvas, like, it's like, you talk about rejection, you talk about failing. You attempt all the lines, force, strokes, colors, and all. Maybe at that point you have gone to the height of your instinctive ability or instinctive zone, like, but once you come back, you feel like terrible failure, struck this. So your language is not that of the conventional. You don't talk about a successful composition being accepted, a nice strong, whereas you talk about like dejected, there's a third, like it's structured, like it's not structured, like. But yet, in spite of all this, you find a lot of pleasure when you see that canvas, like it's a very composed one. I remember visiting your show at Sunaparanta, I think in 2011 or 12. I think Devi
Huh.
Prasad had curated that show in that.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me like there's a beautiful big canvas on the wall. I had liked that canvas, and I was like talking to you, saying that kya mast hai re usme. And you were like, talking in terms like how terribly you failed after that. So your language or the way approach, how you're talking about like a failed attempt, but the final output on the canvas is a beautiful composition. Now, how is this paradox like? How do you can you throw some light on this paradox?
Yeah, I will. I will. I
Yeah.
will definitely. See, I always tell people that it's the abstract painting, which specifically which I do. One
Mm-hmm.
has to look at it in terms of intensity, not in terms of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is intense, whether it hits you, not whether it is pretty or whether it is balanced or whether it is good. Okay, whether I have achieved that sort of an intensity which hits you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I say failure, what happens is that, see, it's a process is like this. I create a crisis on the canvas.
Yes,
Okay,
I
I
remember
think
the
I've read,
statement.
yeah.
Yeah.
I create a crisis and then I try to resolve it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in the process of resolving it, what happens is the painting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not that I resolve the crisis. I land up in a place which is new. Now, my job is to be comfortable in that new space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How to make that new space where I have landed work for me with all my background, what is it called, keeping judging that new space. It's like this. You are well settled in a house and then you okay shift to another flat, say, or a house, and then for some days you are sort of not feeling exactly comfortable because it's a new space,
Moving out of the comfort zone.
moving out of the comfort zone. Now
Yep.
I moved into a new area. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how long, how soon am I going to feel comfortable? So that urge to feel comfortable, you cannot wish away.
Yep.
Okay, that I
Mm-hmm.
cannot wish away. The painting, I can bring it to the in the comfort zone very easily. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do it, then it become predictable and boring, which I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. I want to see whether I can be comfortable in the new area.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the risk I take.
Okay.
And what happens is that when the painting is done or sort of completed, the process, painting is never completed. In fact, to be very frank with you,
It's a journey.
as long as it is in my house, it can be attacked anytime. I can change it anytime. So there
Yeah.
is, for me at least, there is no such thing as okay. Maybe suppose some painting remains for about 2 3 months,
Yeah.
then perhaps I think that okay, Baba, this let it be. Sometimes what happens is that I'll tell you the contrary thing. Sometimes I feel that I have failed in a painting. Okay. But I
Mm-hmm.
tend to keep it because maybe I tell myself I'm not in a position to, what is it called, assess it or judge
Mm-hmm.
it with my current mindset. So I keep it and then I don't see it. After 6 months, when I see, suddenly I found out, wow, that painting is really good,
Mm-hmm.
which I then thought when I was doing it was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing, what I'm telling you, is exists at that particular point only. At
Okay.
that moment, at that
Yeah.
moment, it looks like that. And I honestly tell you what I feel at that moment.
Okay.
Because sometimes what happens, I may be trying to, what do they call, handle a particular color, say let's say white or gray, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
manage it, and then I'll end up in
Mm-hmm.
some other place. But now that's when I'm expecting to do something, and when something else happens, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in a position to judge that something else because my expectation is, what is it
Yeah.
called, putting pressure on me.
Yes.
You get my point.
Yes, I
But
get it.
expectation is putting pressure on me, so I'm not
Yes.
in a position to judge the new place where I have landed in. So
Okay.
that time where I have to give myself sufficient time gap,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a week or so, and then I can see it in more clarity. Or maybe I start a completely new painting. I just leave it there. I start a new painting, and then I come back, and then I can see it with a much clearer mind.
Yes.
So the process which happens is back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like one continuous thing. Okay, I complete a painting, keep it, and then I go off to another painting, and then I complete it. No, I feel I have completed a painting. I leave it there. Okay, fine. Then I start a new painting, and after the third painting, I feel that I may have to add another patch or two for the painting, and I do it. And sometimes I fail also. I destroy that whole thing. अरे पहले ही अच्छा था ऐसा लगता है.
Yeah, I know. I know. I understand.
So these things keep happening. These
So
things
you are
keep happening.
so you are literally living on in those instinctive moments and express them and leave it there, whatever it's like.
I'm on the edge.
I'm on that also.
I'm on the edge,
Uh-huh.
and I'm trying to, what is it called? What is it called? See how to, what is it called, remain there,
Yes.
how to keep the painting tentative yet which can be put up as a work. I won't use the word complete because in abstraction normally one doesn't use the word whether the painting, because the complete painting is a dead painting according to me.
Correct. I was coming. My next question was something about that relevant as well.
Huh.
Because usually a painting, be it any other, like, be it abstract or realistic, figurative, whatever it is, like, it tends to narrate something, it tends to impress something, it tends to say something.
Huh.
Right? Whereas and it's very nice, fine finished. Whereas
Huh.
when I see your paintings, it's quite raw, it's rustic, it's like a wild. It's like, but at the same time, it's not there to impress someone, but rather express someone. It's like, I am this and this is what about. So your painting is more of an expression rather than impression. It's more sort of an experience rather than an explanation,
Huh.
isn't
I
it?
think that second one works better. It is a more of an experience.
Experience rather than an explanation. Well, see, the terms impression and expression is more sort of an academic expression.
Yeah.
It's like, but when it comes to
Yeah.
an artistic practical thing, it's all about an experience and explanation. That's it.
Yeah. And
It's like,
first thing what you said was that, see, it is an expression in a limited sense. It is also, to a large extent, exploration. It's almost
Yeah,
like you can say archaeologist
correct, correct,
thing. He does not know what he may find. He expects
correct.
things, certain things, but
Yeah,
he's not sure exactly what he's going to find.
yeah,
And he has to relate things what he finds into one coherent whole.
yeah,
So something like that.
yeah. But
So
my
what you, yeah, actually, what, rather than what you want to say, what
mm,
is happening there on the canvas is more important.
correct. It's
What is
like
happening there, right there when you are touching the canvas, because that your each stroke is dictating the next stroke.
correct,
So you may feel something, but moment you touch the canvas, in the process itself, immediately it changes.
correct,
Like if you start a painting, 2 minutes later, the painting would have been different.
correct.
It's
So
that
this
sort
is
of a tentative.
your entire process, your entire experience is so edgy. It's on the wheels. It's not a flat. It's like on the कि कब हिलेगा पता नहीं.
हाँ, कब
Because
मिलेगा पता नहीं.
a wheel कब move होएगा पता नहीं. It's always that kinetic. It's not
Yeah,
potential. It's not. Now
yeah.
my question is how do you find this kinetic energy, this movement of things on your emotional level or on your physical level or on your artistic level? How challenging you find it? Do you find it challenging? Do you find it interesting? Do you find it pressurizing? Or do you find you are so much used to that pressure you can work only in that mode now, cannot have a very soothing life? How do you
I
think?
cannot paint in a soothing way. For me, without that,
Nice is without that challenge or terrain you
without that
can.
challenge, the painting is worthless. That's why I said, no, for me, painting is an act of deliberate insanity.
Okay.
I s-
Yeah,
it's a deliberate insanity. It is madness in the sense that it has no meaning. I mean, it's not, what do they call, a useful thing for life or something like that. Um, it doesn't, what do they call, I mean, to keep, forget everything, to keep doing something for decades together, which doesn't guarantee even slightly neither money nor fame nor recognition, and to just keep on doing it sheerly out of conviction is madness.
no, it is altogether for me. I think I'll tell you. I personally believe that is something the beautiful artistic journey. I was talking about this to yesterday Vasudev and also to Upadhyay Sachi.
Uh,
Ki basically, I mean, I find so many senior artists. Forget about junior or emerging. I find so many. There are many senior artists जो 25-30 साल से एक ही टाइप की वर्क कर रहे हैं. वाई? क्योंकि वो गैलरी सेल होता है उसमें. एंड ऑलवेज आई हैव बीन, मैं ऐसे देखता रहता हूँ कि यार 25-30 years मैन, अगर पीछे का पेंटिंग देखो अभी का पेंटिंग देखो, हार्डली स्लाइट डिफरेंस विद दिस. सो कोई बदलाव नहीं हुआ है, कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हुआ है, कोई चेंजेस नहीं हुआ है. हैज दैट पर्सन नॉट इवॉल्व्ड, ग्रोन और व्हाट? Or even if he has done it, is he then artificial in his expressions or opinion? Has it simply become a product rather than a passion? Is it
I'll tell
simply
you.
a, yeah, how do you,
I'll
can you throw
explain.
what's your opinion on this?
I'll tell you about this. See, Robert Motherwell has put it, explained this in one of his writings. He said that there are two phases,
Hmm.
like playing on variation and innovation. Playing on variation is
Hmm.
easy, comforting. Okay. Play innovation is very taxing.
Hmm.
Innovation becomes more taxing when you have got a reputation to, what is it called, to protect.
Hmm.
Because if you have built your reputation in a with a particular style, then that
Hmm.
always fear will be there that if I change, then maybe I will be not be accepted, or I may fall out of grace,
Hmm.
or I may stop selling. So that fear
Hmm.
keeps the artist, what is it called, working only on variations.
Arrested like.
It's not a bad thing or a good thing, but that's the way it is.
Hmm.
For me, what was the advantage was, since I didn't have much of a reputation as such, or I was not a bestseller or something like that. Once in a while, I sold. So we were free from that burden. And secondly, because of our nature, I was what is it called? Always like to do risky things.
Mhm. No,
So
but
that advantage was there.
this is a very courageous statement, Suhas, I'll tell you. To admit or to say, like, I was not that reputed, I was not selling. Because
Huh.
usually when I meet artists, even if they're not selling, like they say, like, yeah, I sold this, just trying to artificially keep that reputation going around, saying that I am also in the bracket,
See,
But
I'll
that's a
tell you
very,
this.
very
I'll
courageous
tell you this.
statement from you, saying that,
I
to be so
know.
honest and blunt about, to
I'll tell you.
be what you are.
Artists need to tell tell such things that they are selling
Yeah.
just to keep themselves what is it called? Uh,
Self-satisfaction.
it's not self satisfaction, to pep up themselves. Otherwise, if they live with too much of reality, which
Yeah. Mhm.
fact, but they go into depression, they may stop painting.
Painting.
So
True, true.
it is their necessity. I mean, if they're doing it and if they're feeling good about it, great, let them do it. Fine.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yes.
it's not like it's not harming them, neither it is harming somebody else. If they are feeling good about it by
Yeah.
telling that, and if they can, what is it called, do what they are doing, keep doing what they are doing. See, it's very difficult to keep painting without appreciation, without selling, without recognition.
True,
It's very difficult. So
true,
artists have to resort to some ways to pep themselves
true, true, true.
up.
I have no complaint against it, but this is just an observation, and I find,
This is, yeah, it is observation. Earlier, I used to feel irritated, but then after giving it a thought, then I realized that it is their necessity.
correct.
If they could do without it, they would have done it. But let them do it. I mean, it's nice if they're feeling good about it. Let them do it. It's
Yeah,
not doing any harm. Let them tell themselves that they have sold
yeah,
a
yeah,
dozens
yeah.
of paintings in last couple of years.
True, true, true.
See, for me, that issue was not there because sort of I had come to terms. I mean, after traveling, going to Bombay and getting rejected it here, I had sort
Yeah.
of got a used to rejection. So it was like I had almost come to terms with that these paintings of mine are not going to be much appreciated or much respected or much revered. So I had come to terms with that sort of thing, and maybe for because of that, it might have been a little bit easier for me to accept. Even now, I don't make a living as such out of painting, though I paint regularly almost every day, but I don't sort of make exactly a full living out of painting.
Yes, yes, yes. Now I have couple of 2, 3 points here with this now. For
Huh,
example, with one of my friend he collects. He's a small time collector, but he collects paintings and all.
huh,
And same with these abstract paintings. It's like, have these lines, strokes and all. It's like random strokes and all. So एक बार I was sitting, बात करते हम लोग एक बियर के साथ बैठे थे, and then he was
huh,
like, क्या यार ये कुछ समझ में नहीं आता है, क्या आप कहना
huh,
क्या चाह, what is that expression? तो I was trying to tell him the same thing. It's an expression, it's an experience. बोला क्या experience, क्या expression, कुछ भी ऐसा करो, this thing, that's it. But nice है. मैं बोला ठीक है इसमें. It so happened that a week or 10 days later, we went to a pub Saturday
huh,
ko, and it was like we had a couple of drinks, and he was dancing. We were dancing in
huh,
the pub, and I just recorded the way how he danced.
huh.
It was like, how it is, like it's full, like for
Yeah,
example procession, full to, you are in your mode, you are in your
huh,
in your element, like basically
yeah,
you are in your element, like that.
huh.